to the IU Southeast Writing Center's video on annotated bibliographies. My name is Taryn, and in this video, I'm going to discuss what an annotated bibliography is, the purpose and goals of writing annotated bibliographies, and 3 steps to writing a successful annotation. This presentation will conclude with an example of an annotation in MLA format. First, if this is your first time working on this kind of writing assignment, let's discuss what an annotated bibliography is. An annotated bibliography is essentially a list of citations for all of the sources you have located while researching a topic. While this could include any kinds of sources your professors have assigned you to examine, the most common types of annotations are written about books and scholarly articles. In contrast to a works cited or references page, however, which is what you might be imagining based on the previous description, an annotated bibliography will also include a brief paragraph for each citation. This is called an annotation. Annotations can vary greatly in length depending on the requirements of your specific assignment, but generally they are between 50 and 150 words and are almost exclusively shorter than 1 page. While your annotated bibliography assignment may ask for specific information to be included, a general annotation will summarize and describe the source briefly in no more than a few sentences. It will also evaluate the source, including for its strengths, weaknesses, and usefulness to you. Annotated bibliography assignments also often ask that you describe how you will use each source. This is most common if your annotated bibliography is one step in a larger research project. There are many reasons why you might be asked to write an annotated bibliography, as they benefit both the reader of the bibliography and the researcher who is writing the assignment. For the reader, some of the benefits include receiving information about the quality, relevance, and accuracy of the sources you have chosen. Readers are also able to gain a sense of what you see as the use value of your sources for later research. For example, if you are writing an annotated bibliography in preparation to write a research paper, your annotations might include information on how you plan to use the source to support your thesis. Finally, readers will be able to gain a sense of who you are as a researcher, so annotations are a helpful way to show your credibility and trustworthiness. The purpose of annotated bibliographies for researchers includes making your life easier as a researcher by documenting your thoughts about the sources, which will help organize your notes as you prepare for writing a research paper. It also helps you to generate a plan for how to use sources, so you aren't scrambling to find the perfect quote that you remember reading from a source later. Annotated bibliographies also demonstrate your understanding of your sources, which is particularly important when working with complicated scholarly information. While your professor's specific requirements might differ slightly from the steps here, generally, these are some questions you should respond to as you write your annotations. First, summarize the source. What are its main arguments? What is its goal? Generally, how would you sum up the source to someone who asked you to? Do it as concisely as possible. Even books can be summarized in a few sentences if you have a good understanding of the content. Next, assess the source. How useful is it to you or to other researchers, and why? How does it compare to other information you have found? Is it biased or objective, and does that help or hurt its credibility? What limitations does it have that make it less useful or comprehensive? Finally, reflect on the source. How helpful would you say that it is to your research? Is it the source where much of your knowledge comes from, or is it only slightly helpful? How did it contribute to your understanding of your topic? How will it help you support your thesis? Including all 3 of these steps will help you demonstrate your mastery of the source and your feelings about its use value to you. To help visualize what an annotation looks like using the steps we just discussed, here is a sample annotation in MLA format. The first move you'll want to make is accurately and appropriately citing your source in the documentation style assigned by your professor or used in your discipline. Note that this citation is for a chapter in an edited collection. Please also note that the only line of an entire annotation that is aligned with the left margin is the first line of each citation. Every subsequent line will use hanging indentation. Once your citation is complete, you should summarize the piece you are describing. Your summary should be concise, and you may find it necessary or appropriate to write a contextualized summary, where you will only summarize what is essential to your project. This may be especially useful if you are summarizing larger projects like books, of which you might only be using a chapter. Next, assess the source. One way to assess or evaluate might be to describe its usefulness, explaining what you learned from it that is beneficial to your topic. You might also be asked to assess the credibility of a source or to compare it to your other sources. Finally, reflect on the source. Generally, this is where you will describe how you plan to use the source in your larger research projects, since annotated bibliographies are normally part of the research process rather than standalone assignments. Be specific as you say what precisely from a source you might use and how you plan to use it. The IU Southeast Writing Center hopes that you have found this brief primer helpful. If you'd like more information about annotated bibliographies, documentation styles, or other writing requirements, please visit us online at ius.edu/writing-center for handouts and links to additional resources. If you are an IU Southeast student and would like to work with a consultant one-on-one to discuss your annotated bibliography or other writing assignments, feel free to visit us in Nauvoo Hall, room 208. Contact us by phone at 812-941-2498 or email us at iuswrite@iu.edu.